interview. Now, the interviews range dramatically. So some of the interviews that you will go on will be, you'll sit down one-on-one and you may end up with one or two people that you're talking to, you're interviewing with. And these days it's likely to be on Zoom, but sometimes they're live, and they'll ask you one or two questions. Tell me about yourself. And they may spend the rest of the time talking about the program. Some of them are really easy and you're just kind of there to listen and to hear. But more often they're going to ask you some very direct questions, and I'll go over some of those with you in just a little bit. And they vary from one-on-one to group interviews. And sometimes the group is a group of faculty. So you'll have 2, 3, 4 faculty members and you. Sometimes it'll be a faculty member or 2 faculty members with a group of students. Usually when they do that, they either have a ton of people and they can't schedule everybody individually. So they're interviewing a lot of people, or they're interviewing to see the interaction that people have with one another. Oftentimes those will set up something. They'll give a case and ask you to work together to conceptualize a case. But you don't necessarily know. So you're there and you've got, 2 or 3 faculty member, and then there's 5 students that are sitting there and you're like, oh, am I competing with all these people? Sometimes it may just be they don't have enough time. They're having to interview that way because they don't have enough faculty, and they're interviewing 50 people. So they're doing a huge amount of interviewing. They don't have any time. In other cases, it'll be they've got plenty of time. They just now want to see your interaction, and they will pair you up or have that whole group work together on something. So, you're never certain. If it's one-on-one, they're going to just ask you a series of questions. If it's 3 or 4 on one, meaning 3 or 4 faculty member and you, they probably got certain questions that each one wants to ask you. And they're doing that so that they can have a bunch of people looking at you and rating you based upon the exact same answer, because I may like one answer that you give, but someone else may not like that same answer. And it's one of the vagaries of doing an interview. Everyone who does interviews think they do a great job and they're fabulous at it and they can pick the best people. The research indicates that's not true. You can't. You've got a group of people who are all probably going to be pretty good. So the fact that you chose, 5 good ones out of that group of 20 is probably not that hard. There's going to be 5 good ones there. So it wasn't necessarily your fabulous interviewing skills that pick those students. But people often view it that way. So the issue is, well, one person likes this answer and another person likes this answer better. Having all the group together kind of allows them to talk about that after you're done. And that's why that's going to be handled that way. Okay. Again, most of the interviews are going to be like job interviews, but some will be a little bit different. And I will talk about that a little bit more in just a little bit on the next slide. You need to be prepared for all the most common questions. So you need to practice this. You need to go out. You need to have somebody ask you questions. You need to then respond to them. The more realistic you can set up the situation with a friend or whatever, the better that it is. Also, you need to be prepared to ask questions. Do not ever get into there, and when they say, do you have any questions for me? And you go, no, I don't think so. Never say that. Okay. Always have a question. It may be you've interviewed with 5 different people. You're at the 5th hour of interviews and you're tired and you've asked all the questions you can possibly think of. Okay. Well, re-ask a question. You can always ask somebody, tell me what your views on, what is it that you would like to see in a graduate student? What are the things that you've seen in the most successful graduate students? What do they bring with them and what do they learn here? You can ask that of every single person, because everyone's going to give you a different answer, and it doesn't matter that you've asked the same question. So be prepared to ask questions. So have them ready for you, and don't make them just sound like, oh, let me ask you this question. Have them so you need to be interested in it. You need to be invested in that. I've seen a lot of people who do interviews, and sometimes I know they're just tired by the end of the day of having a lot of interviews, and they'll say, I don't have a question, or, oh, well, I asked these other people this, so I'll ask you that. No, don't say that. Just ask that. Say, well, I'm really interested in, Yeah, they may go back and compare and say, well, this person asked the same question to me. But the question of what do you find most important in a new graduate student, or what do you find, what's most important for you in an applicant? Well, that's a reasonable question to ask of everyone.